let's zoom out and understand this timeline real quick, okay? So in 2018, I created the O Negative series, right? That O Negative series had hashtags, which was found by a producer from CBS in 2019, a year later. We ended up shooting the 3 videos in 2019. It aired on television in 2020, and then in 2021, it was nominated and won an Emmy for Best Public Service Campaign. Blessings, and more blessings to every single one of you out there in YouTube world. Queen of Bergen back here, and as you can see, I am inside of the office, and the reason I'm here is because I don't feel like setting up any of the lights. No, I don't feel like doing any of all that extra stuff. So we're not going to be in the studio today. We are going to be inside of this office where things are nice, neat, and easy to set up. This is actually going to be a story time. Yeah, it's story time, guys. Come around, let's have a chat, let's talk, let's get intimate. The story of how CBS happened is actually a pretty big, it was a pretty big lesson that I learned about how the little things can turn into big things in the future. Like, if you feel like you're doing something that's small, that isn't have a lot of return right now, that there is a world where that means something really, really big. And I didn't really understand this concept until CBS happened, but I'll get into it. If the phone's gonna be in my hand, I don't care. I just need to get these notes because I'm just gonna be talking to you, but I need to hit the bullet points in order for the story to coagulate and come together. Okay, so it started off in 2018, right? In 2018, I had got fired from my job, and after I got fired, I immediately started creating content. Immediately. I ended up creating a series the next day called Q's Confessions, where I talked about me getting fired from the job. So it was I immediately started getting in front of a camera. I started shooting videos, and I was just okay, this is what I'm gonna start doing. So I'm shooting all these videos, I'm doing art shows, I had saved some bread from the job that I was working, so I was able to survive for a little bit. And just kind of hustle it up, you know what I mean? And I hit up my best friend, partner in crime, Kim, who, by the way, you'll hear her name in plenty of the stories that I say. So I ended up calling Kim one day, and I was like, hey, Kim. She's like, hey, Queena. I was like, yo, are you down to shoot some videos? She said, hell yeah, I'm down to shoot some videos. I was like, bet, we're going to Toronto. I think Toronto was one of our first trips where we started to do this, where we just we want to create, we want to get up, we want to start shooting stuff. It always feels good to do that. It always feels good to be able to say, I can go, so I will. I will get up, I'll go, I'll change my environment. We ended up getting an Airbnb out there, and we just hit the road. We hopped inside of her car, and we just drove the 8 hours. When I was saying that I was going to go out there to shoot things, I didn't actually have pieces that were done. I was so excited about going to shoot content that I didn't have all the content that I needed to get all the shots while I was out there. So in the 8-hour drive there, I was Googling places that looked really dope, and then writing poetry pieces about those places. Literally in the car, I'd see it would be one place we went to was this castle looking place, so I ended up just writing about the history of the castle, but in a poem, or a baseball field that was gonna be by the Airbnb. I was okay, I'm gonna write about going after your home runs in life. I don't even remember what the piece was about, but the point is, these 7 videos came out as a series, right? And the series was called O Negative. O Negative is my blood type. It was this play on this idea that my words are universal, just like my blood type. You get the idea. It was fire, all right? When I was working through, it was fire, bro. So I was like, bet, this is gonna be fire. This is gonna be insane, right? So I ended up putting aside obviously I had paid for the trip and stuff like that, but then I also put aside money for advertising, and I started doing the thumbnails, I did the captions, I did the hashtags. I came through, you know what I mean? I was throwing the book at O Negative because I was just excited about creating something new. The first video of the entire series got 700 views. 700 views, right? Which, by the way, I don't think that's a bad number, but for the amount of money that I spent, I didn't go viral. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't out here, hobnobbing with Oprah after that video dropped, which is clearly what I thought was going to happen, right? And I had put maybe maybe like $1,000 or $2,000 into that project. After the videos came out, it basically got to a point where it was like, all right, I got to start working again. I done used up all my savings, you know, things is getting tight now, so now it's time to start working. Now I'm still like hustling, trying to do poetry, but just not in the same way anymore. So in September of 2019, I ended up getting this DM, right, from this guy named James. He was like, hey, my name is James. I'm a producer at CBS and I want you to audition for this project I got coming up. I said, oh, word? Bet. Because I guess like over the years they were like using like an older campaign every Black History Month, so they wanted to revamp it, you know, use spoken word as a way to articulate the stories of great African American trailblazers, and then also be able to talk about these very significant moments in our history, how they impacted us, how they were going to impact the future generations, and they wanted poets to be able to tell that story. I said, okay, I'll be a part of that. I'll be with it. Let's do that. I did 3 poetry pieces. One was on Madam C.J. Walker. The second was on Sidney Poitier, and then the third was on how Black history inspires a younger generation, right? I pull up to the set, and when I pull up to the set, it was insane. Like, I was blown away because there were like, you know, big old cameras and lights and so many people, and the street was blocked off, and it was like, it was a lot that I never experienced before, right? So up until that point, I had never been on network television. I never been on a film production set, like nothing like this. You know what I'm saying? This wasn't no negative. It's a long way, you know, from that baseball field in Toronto. Makeup artists, gaffers, you know, the camera people, some of the execs from the network were there. So Kim was with me, you know what I'm saying? We just looked up and we saw what was going on. So we was like, yo, it's time to work. You know, it's time to work. So we got out that car and we went ham. Like, every single person who was on set, I shook hands. I learned names. We started talking about what they do, why they do it, everything. I talked to every single person on that set. I'm gonna tell you something about myself, right? I'm gonna tell you something about myself. So I almost feel like sometimes I get shy or introverted and I get too like in my head. So that was such a terrifying thing for me, because I'm like, yo, I need to be able to get up and start talking to people, do all those things. So in my fear, right, of not wanting to be seen that way, I ended up just being explosive with my personality, like just as bubbly as I can be. And it was also helpful that I was extremely excited to be where I was, right? So I'm just like, hi, how are you? My name is Quinna. Pleasure. Right? So I'm giddy, I'm moving around, but it's also like there's two sides of it too, because not only do you have to smile and be charismatic and lively, but what's also extremely important, and I think the thing that really set me apart when I got to set, was my professionalism. Like, regardless of how excited or giddy I was, like when they said, okay, Queen, it's time for you to get ready for this shot, all right, cool. Boom, you ain't have to tell me twice. I was gone. You know what I'm saying? All right, cool. Boom. I'm good. We are, all right. Is this how you? All right, bet. I'm ready to go. Hi. We're spy. You know, immediately I would just jump into my lines. I knew all of my words. Every one of my takes were quick. They were like, all right, well, I mean, I think we got it. You want to do one for safety? I'm like, I'll say it as long as you need me, dog. Like, and it was crazy because y'all don't see this, but I'm gonna give you a little behind the scenes. Y'all don't see this, but I'm gonna give you the behind the scenes. When we did those dolly shots, which I think that's what it's called, like the dolly shots, like there is a dude that is sitting on this camera, like it's a whole seat, you know what I'm saying? His name is Eric. Shout out to Eric, you feel me? What's up, Eric? You know, I hope you find this video. I had to know his name because this dude was like in my face. He was here, you know what I'm saying, with this big old camera. So he sits on this camera and he like dollies back, you know what I mean, to get that open shot. So it was insane, like, you know, just being like right inside the camera. Now keep in mind, your glasses cause a lot of reflections. You'll see that in a lot of my YouTube videos. I don't care right now. I'm just gonna get them out and then figure it out later. But because I had the glasses in the reflection in my glasses, I had to take my glasses off. Not only am I in front of like an entire production set, you feel me, like everybody looking at me, the execs, the producers, directors in a little tent, you know what I'm saying, staring at monitor screens, trying to make sure everything good. This place is like a space station, and this dude is right in front of my face with a camera, and I have to like all my words, and I'm doing all of this blind. All right, I did all of those, like the dolly one, I did all those blind. Okay, just want you to know. All right, I was a blind poet. I felt vulnerable, right? Because I had to, at the end of it, I had to walk off. All right, I never tripped, but it was definitely a thought. Another fun fact about that day was that I was the only artist that they had that day that wore 3 different outfits. So I was shooting 3 different poetry pieces, and I brought a different outfit for every single piece. I made all of them, right? So I mean, some of the designs I like took off somewhere or whatever, but I custom made each one of the hoodies and crew necks that I wore in those 3 pieces. So the first one, which was the Inspiring a Younger Generation, that was actually a film strip of all of the people who inspired me. So like, you know, Lauryn Hill, Charlemagne the God, like there were so many people who were formative in creating who I was. So I put all of their faces on that hoodie. So if you check that out, that's what's on there. And then, you know, the one that I did for Madam CJ Walker, and then of course the one that I did for the Sidney Poitier piece was my name, right? So each one of those hoodies also had my name on them. I wasn't paid for being in that project. It was very, very early on in my career, and it was just an incredible opportunity, so I just seized it. I think that's one of the things too, is that sometimes you're not going to be getting paid for things, but of course it could be a stepping stone for another great thing that could happen for you, and I was definitely willing to work with them if they were willing to also work with me. So it ended up being a great thing. But what I did was that since I wasn't getting paid for it, I was like, yo, I gotta at least be able to put my name here. Like, people gotta be able to follow me or find me or book me or whatever, so that I can ultimately be able to survive as an artist. If you're able to do that, if you go on for a shoot or whatever, I would strongly suggest doing something that kind of just allows people to be able to find you so that they can book you. Because shit you not, I have had people, you know, pay me to do projects just based off of finding me from that CBS commercial. So it did work out for me, and I was actually pretty excited about that. So a few weeks later, they asked if I'd be interested in coming in to do an interview for the news, right? And I was like, hell yeah, you know what I mean? Book me and let me go. I'm out of here, you feel me? But I told him that I was like, hey, if I'm doing an interview though, I'm gonna have to come like maybe an hour or two early, because I want to come and see the edits. I want to meet the team again. I want to reconnect. I want to do the whole 9, right? So, you know, me and Kim ended up going over to the CBS studios over in New York, and we met with everybody. We got the sneak peek. We got to see how all of the clips turned out. It was super, super fire. It was exciting to see like the final product, like before it actually reached television. We ended up doing that, and then going straight downstairs and having an incredible interview. That interview was so fire. At the time, like when that interview happened, that was literally, I had to be like a week or 2 after I had won Prana, right? The Day Job, the Dream Job competition. Now, that's a whole nother story in and of itself. I'm going to make a video on that. So when I do make that video, I'm going to link it above. It's not here right now, but when I do make that video, I'm going to link it above. So if you see the link up there, it's because that video is out, and you should definitely learn about the story of how I was paid $100,000 to quit my job in 2019. I think I had an incredible interview at that news station, and I know that I was meant to be there, because it wasn't until this very moment of me editing this video, that I realized that when I did that interview, it was 222. Magic numbers aligned. After the interview, I was invited to the CBS dinner, where I was able to meet a lot of the executives from the company. Not just them, because at the time they were merging with Viacom. So folks from Nickelodeon, folks from Paramount were there, and it was like a really exciting experience to kind of like network, move around, mix, mingle, news anchors, the whole 9. I took my mom with me. She was really excited, but I was able to perform there as well, and it was a great experience. It was a great experience, like being amongst everyone, and I was really excited about it. Now, let's zoom out and understand this timeline real quick, okay? So in 2018, I created the O Negative series, right? That O Negative series had hashtags, which was found by a producer from CBS in 2019, a year later. We ended up shooting the 3 videos in 2019. It aired on television in 2020, and then in 2021, it was nominated and won an Emmy for Best Public Service Campaign. It's absolutely insane when you zoom out and you kind of look at it that way. In fact, CBS actually pitched spoken word to some of their other clients as well, because of the success that campaign had. So I ended up working with the NAACD, which is the National Association for Chronic Disease Directors. They're kind of like they work with the CDC a lot, so it was really good, like, you know, after the pandemic, being a part of that campaign. And those commercials are still airing right now on CBS. If you've seen any of these commercials, if you've seen any of my campaigns, guys, please drop a comment below. Let me know what you thought of it. You know what I mean? Let me know how you feel, the whole nine. So I hope this story time gave you some understanding about everything, some inspiration to go after your dreams, and just kind of remember that what you create today may not have that immediate ROI, but you have no idea how it's going to be a ripple effect for your future. Like, I spent a lot of money. I was down bad for a little while when it came to making that O Negative, but if it wasn't for that video series, the producer from CBS wouldn't have found me, and then him finding me wouldn't have allowed me to be able to bring that professionalism on set, because it was in those moments of working fast, working quick, and getting things done in Toronto that allowed for the moments like being on the set in Harlem with CBS to even work out. All right, so you need to be able to do the small things in order for the big things to happen, and I'm hoping that this story kind of brings that to perspective, that to light for a lot of creatives who are out there. So if you're interested in learning more about my journey, hearing more stories, tutorials, the life of being a content creator, and what has been up with me since all of that has started, all you have to do is like this video, subscribe to my channel, turn on post notifications so you're alerted when I post my next video, and we can start a relationship together, because I'm here to stay. So happy that you guys decided to join me on this storytime journey. I really appreciate you, and I cannot wait to vibe with you in the next video. Peace.